Is your bathroom sink clogged or just draining too slowly? If so, I'll show you some easy ways to clear it. However, I'm making this video specifically for those of you who aren't easily able to get underneath your sink due to being handicapped or otherwise physically unable to. In fact, I'm making this video with my own mom in mind, as she recently had a clogged sink and I was too far away to help her with it at the time. So she asked me to make a video about unclogging a sink. If you are physically able to get underneath your sink and you have some basic mechanical aptitude, this video really isn't for you. There is a better way to unclog a sink if you have the ability to do it. I'll put a link to another good video I found in the upper right hand corner from a channel called Home Repair Tutor that will guide you through how to unclog your sink. For the rest of you, I'm going to discuss some different methods you can use to unclog your sink from the top that require minimal physical effort. Before I get into all that, first let me show you where your clog probably is so you can visualize what you're doing better. Almost every bathroom sink is going to have a drain pipe underneath that looks similar to this. Note the curved part of the pipe here. This is probably where your clog is. However, it could also be up here where the drain stopper mechanism is located if you have one. Over time, these areas will develop a buildup of things like soap scum, skin flakes, hair, or some grooming products that will eventually build up and slow down or even stop the water from draining. Before I go over what methods I do recommend, let me warn you about something I don't recommend. Any drain cleaners with strong caustic chemicals in them like lye, also known as caustic soda or sodium hydroxide, or products containing sulfuric or hydrochloric acids. These do work, but at a heavy price. If you have PVC pipes, these products can actually warp or even melt your pipes. If you have older pipes made from galvanized steel or cast iron, some caustic cleaners can eat away at these pipes and cause leaks over time. Again, I strongly suggest not using these kinds of products. The first method you can try is pouring some boiling water into your drain. However, do not use this method if you have PVC pipes underneath your sink, as boiling water can cause PVC joints to warp and possibly cause leaks. Only use this method if your pipes are metal. Also, if you have a non-removable stopper that's also made from plastic, then you may not want to use this method either. Rather than using a pot to boil the water, I'd suggest using a kettle, as it's a bit safer and easier to handle. This method will work best on slow drains where the water in the sink isn't backed up, so that the hot water can go straight to the clog. Pour the water directly into the drain in a steady stream. Let it sit for a few minutes to give it a chance to dissolve the clog. Then run some more water into the drain to see if there's any improvement. If there is, but it's not fully cleared, repeat as needed. If there's no improvement, then your clog may be caused by something more solid, like hair. The next method you can try is using an enzymatic cleaner, like this, that's safe for use on any type of pipes. These are not the same as the caustic drain cleaners I mentioned earlier. There are various kinds that may be specialized for certain types of clogs. Check the description on the product to see what kinds of clogs it can handle. These cleaners are generally not as good for sinks that are clogged by solid clogs, but they may work on slow drains clogged by hair, soap scum, or other organic clogs. Follow the instructions that come with the product. Generally, you're going to want to let it sit a while to give it a chance to slowly dissolve the clog. When I've used these myself, I found that they are generally better as a preventative measure to keep clogs from happening in the first place. But they still might be worth a try, especially if you only have a slow draining sink. A homemade cleaner that some people claim that works for them is a mixture of vinegar and baking soda. Mixing the two of them together is supposed to create a foaming reaction that can help clear clogs. I've never used this myself, but I've seen some debate online about using this mixture because I've read that some people were having issues with the baking soda portion crystallizing around the clog and actually making things worse. For that reason, I'm only going to mention it here, but not recommend it. You can look up this method on your own if you want to try it. Another method you can try is using a plunger. You can use a larger plunger if that's all you have, but it's a lot easier to have a smaller plunger designed specifically for sinks like this. Here's the one I use if you want to pick up one yourself. This method usually has worked well for me in the past. Plungers work best if there's already some standing water in the sink so that they can make a better seal. Also, if you have an overflow hole, you're going to need to plug it up to get the best possible vacuum seal. The easiest thing to use is a wet cloth that you can stuff into the opening. Once you have a good seal, work the plunger up and down quickly, about 10 to 20 times. If it doesn't work the first time, you can repeat this at least a few more times to see if you're able to loosen anything up. Also, there are some other types of plungers out there, like this one, that use compressed air to clear clogs rather than muscle power. I have used a couple of these, and I haven't had much luck with them, at least not on sinks, so I can't recommend these. However, I've found that the ones specifically designed for toilets do work on some clogs though. I have a few other methods you can try, but before I continue, please watch a quick 10-second message from my sponsor. If a plunger doesn't work, then you may have a more solid clog. Here's a tool called a drain snake that's basically a mini auger with a claw on the end. You operate it by squeezing the handle mechanism on the other end, which forces the claw out. This can be useful if something larger is dropped into the sink, like a wedding ring for instance. You will need a bit of hand strength to use this tool. I know it hurts my arthritis a bit to use it, so if you have chronic arthritis, it may not be the best tool for you. If you have a stopper that can be easily removed from the top, or a flip-top stopper, you should be able to use this. Unfortunately, you may have a stopper like mine that needs to be disconnected underneath the sink. If so, you probably won't be able to use this method. For demonstration purposes, I'm using it here in my kitchen sink. I honestly didn't expect to find anything down in my drain before I started recording this, but I was able to pull out a small brush that had been stuck down in my drain, probably for years. Here's one you can buy that's like the one I'm using here if you want to pick one up for yourself. If you're unable to use the larger drain snake, then here's another type of drain snake that can work really well, especially on hair clogs. These are usually plastic and they're flat enough to fit past most stoppers. Note the small barbs along the length of it. These barbs are really good at snagging hair clogs. The only problem with this tool is that sometimes the barbs will get caught on the stopper as you pull it back up and may require a bit of strength and wiggling to free it. If you're not sure you have the strength to pull it back out if it gets caught, then there's one last type of drain snake I can recommend instead. This next type of drain snake is commonly called a drain weasel. It's a flexible rod with an end that has micro hooks similar to Velcro. It's skinny enough to fit past most any stopper, and it's much less likely to get stuck when you pull it back up. When you use it, push it down the drain as far as it will go, wiggling it around a bit as you do. Once it's down as far as it will go, whip it around in a circular motion to get all sides of the pipe. Some of these even come with a little crank you can attach to the end of it to make it easier to spin around. The micro hooks on the end will latch onto small amounts of hair and gunk, allowing them to be pulled out. By the way, when you wash the gunk off between attempts, don't just wash it back into the sink. I'd suggest pulling the worst of it off by hand. Then, if your toilet is nearby, you can just swish it around the toilet to clean it off and try it again. The downside with these is they will sometimes take many attempts to clear a clog because the amount of gunk that they pull up each time is relatively small. Plus, the barb material on the end isn't designed to last for very many uses, which is why they usually come with multiple rods when you buy them. One of the drain kits I showed earlier had 2 of these augers included, but if you want to buy these with some extra backup augers, here's the kit I bought myself that I'm using in this video. I hope one of the methods I've shown you here ends up working for you. If it has, then please like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more of what I come up with in the future. However, if none of the methods here work for you, then please realize that there are some deeper, more serious clogs that may just be beyond your ability to fix yourself, and you may have to call in a plumber. I hope that's not the case though. Thanks for watching.